beg your pardon. Good morning, everyone. I know we're still waiting for some people to come drag themselves away from the breakfast and the red velvet donuts for breakfast in the Expo Center. But we're going to get started because we've got a very full agenda. My name is Charlotte Kemp. I'm your MC for the day again. I want to confess something, and normally people in my industry are told not to confess ignorance. But I need to be honest with you. We've spent all this time together. I feel like I know you all personally. I know nothing about your industry. So I'm a futurist. I deal with a lot of industries, a lot of companies talking about the kind of the scenarios that they might be facing, the trends that are affecting them, the trends that are affecting industries that are related to them that they have to deal with. And then I realized I know nothing about the procurement world. So I have been fascinated by what we have covered over the last day and the material that I read leading up to this conference. And I'm really looking forward to the agenda for the rest of the day. The information is really, really good. What we're looking at, and I mentioned this yesterday, is that so many industries are looking at these elements of professionalism, raising the standard of how we operate, rooting out corruption, finding better ethical ways of doing business. So it's not just the bottom line anymore, it's the triple bottom line. How do we actually operate in terms of people, planet, and profits? And we need to look at that. And what I've discovered just in the short time working with you, hearing all these presentations, is a realization of how little so many other companies, some of my clients, have of the idea of procurement, the whole value chain that you guys are working in. That is really important. So I just want to just reiterate how valuable I'm finding this particular content outline, and we're going to have a fantastic day with some more of that. You need to earn your lunch later on, and now that you know that it's going to be really tasty, I'm going to encourage you as you go through the sessions today just to keep your evaluation form to the back page so that you can make a few notes about the speakers. It's so valuable to the organizers that they're able to look back later on and work out which speakers added value, who they should bring back, and what other kind of content you're looking for in the future. So that if you can help them with that, then we can make sure that our future conferences are going to really be worthwhile. I also want to mention that we had quite a robust time on Twitter yesterday, which is fantastic. Please remember the Twitter code. It's hashtag SPW for Smart Procurement World 2019 WC for Western Cape. If you can tweet your comments, tweet photographs of yourselves, the other delegates, the speakers, tweet some observations or insights that you've had. That is so valuable to other people who are seeing what is happening at the conference and seeing the kind of information that you are wrestling with in the room. And also, it's great for the speakers to get a bit of exposure. But there's an added bonus, because there always is, that we have some prizes that are lined up. Sun International, Commerce Edge, and Smart Procurement World have made available a couple of prizes. So in the course of the day, either from your tweets or from the questions that you send to the SMS number, we'll be awarding some of those prizes. So please make sure that you SMS some questions through. When you SMS a question to that number, we'll make sure that the speaker gets it, and if we have time, they can address it from stage. If they don't have time, we'll address it later on, perhaps in a tweet or something like that. But we will take note of your questions, and we'll include those your information in the lucky draw. So please take opportunity to do that. All right, so I'm not going to recap yesterday, but I am going to ask you just also to keep your conference notebook in front of you, the manual. You got a list of the speakers there on page, we'll get there any moment now, 26. So if you're trying to recall some of the speakers from yesterday, or when you're taking notes today, you can have a look at the speakers on page 26. And also just remember to note back there the reasons for attending the conference, your professional development areas, find people in the room, find some of the speakers that you may be able to connect with, that you can ask them some questions and follow up later on. Right, so we have a full morning session, then we have some breakaway sessions kind of later in the day, and then we'll come back to this common area later on for the closing of the session. But I'm going to introduce our very first speaker now. I've been chatting to Steve in the background before we started. Stephen Wills with all the acronyms FCIPS MBA. He's an international senior procurement and supply chain expert, the former CPO in public and private business sectors from the United Kingdom, from London, and he's going to be speaking to us, giving a keynote address on a focus on global trends. What will, what will procurement look like in 2030? I'm sure this is going to be a fascinating conversation. Can you please welcome Steve Wills?
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. And how are we? Great, there's a few greats out there. Well, look, firstly, maybe some of you were networking last night. Networking, right? So maybe some of you were out, and you were thinking this morning when the alarm went off, should I get out of bed? Who's speaking first? Oh, it's this guy from the UK. I'd rather have a duvet day, thank you very much. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for getting out of bed and for being here. I'm from London, the UK, and I might reference that a few times this morning. I also have a prize to add. I'm here for a few more days, Cape Town, to enjoy this marvellous city, this marvellous place. And so I'll be around tonight, and I'm offering a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken with me if you fill in some nice comments. If you write, "We love Steve, Steve was the best," then obviously that might go right to the top of the pile for that magnificent prize. So, my procurement superstars, as I'd like to think of you all, welcome to the first session of the day. And I want to firstly just share a little bit about my background. Some of you I know very well, so we can say good friends from past conferences here in South Africa. And some of you, I'm hoping, will be new friends going forward. So my background is as a Chief Procurement Officer. And that means that I've faced the challenges that you face. I've seen it, as they used to say, at the coalface. I've had some of the issues I've heard people say, it's different here. It's different in this part of the business. We don't just buy widgets, you know. We don't just buy staplers. It's different what we buy. So I've heard all of that. I've heard your approach. It's not one size fits all. Adapt it to our part of the business, etc., etc. So in terms of engagement with the business, in terms of some of the as I say, some of the challenges and issues that you face, I've sat there and I've been part of that. My background is totally in procurement, or buying, I think it was called when I came into the profession. And I've been involved, I've had the pleasure to be involved in the London Olympics, the 2012 Olympics, organising that and procuring for that. And I've worked with big finance companies, French organisation AXA. So typically about €1 billion of spend. My background in terms of my credentials is the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply, CIPS, and I've been a previous board member of them, and I'm a fellow. I also hold an MBA from Birmingham University, also in strategic procurement. So I set up Procurement Central because procurement don't always get engaged if there's going to be change, if there's going to be new initiatives. People come a little bit late to procurement. They knock on our door. Sometimes they say, could you just sign this? Don't worry, I've done everything. You don't need to, you just need to sign it, my friend. So I've been there and had that conversation. So I set up Procurement Central to facilitate change, to get people ready for the organizational disruptions that were going on, and to make sure that we procurement were advanced, that we were developed, that we were trained, and that we were ready for change. So my company, as you can see, we like to work with happy people, smiling people. We like to enjoy what we do, and we like to see the potential of people realized. These are some of the companies that you'll recognize that we've helped over the past few years. So you might be thinking, who is this guy? Who is this guy from a country, ladies and gentlemen, that can't even organize ourselves? Brexit. Do we stay? Do we leave? Where do we go in the world? We're like the traveller of the world. We don't know where we want to be. Do we want to be with mainland Europe? Hang on a minute. Where do we want to be in the world? But I'm here to talk to you about the future of procurement and what it's going to look like in 2030. So I myself, with Brexit, I've had quite a bit of, I've seen, let's say, firsthand, quite a bit of disruption in the world and at my front door. So I can talk a little bit about that because it does have a knock-on impact to supply chains and to procurement. So it's a big subject. I hope you're going to enjoy talking through the subject. There's nothing like a bright light, is there? Straight in your face first thing in the morning to wake you up. And I think we're going to have time for a few Q&As afterwards. So let's do that. And obviously, by the way, I'm around all day. I've got a couple of other presentations. So tell your friends, get your family along. I'd love to see them later for the rest of the day. But do talk to me during the day and ask me anything you would like to know. So let's talk about this thing, disruption, first, and then let's talk about what's going to change the game for procurement. So disruptors, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you've come across this word or what it means to you, but I've put down some words that I thought described what a disruptor looks like to me. I've worked with a few in my time, and they can be a bit of an agitator. I don't know. I suppose the older I get, the more I don't like change. I like things just the way they are. It's something that I suppose comes with age. But when you're in a business, you like to get things in a good place. You like to, I suppose, get some control over what you're doing. And so one day someone comes in and sort of throws everything up in the air and says it's all going to change. Or maybe they don't even say it, they just do it. And you've got to kind of scramble around with the consequences. So these people, one person I worked with, he was called a force of nature. A force of nature, this person. And they're usually big guys, and they come in, they're usually in operations, and they have a big plan. They want to be a change agent. They want